Hey everyone. Welcome back to the channel, 6-Path Weeb here. If you're into anime mashups, deep dives, and creative crossovers, you're in the right place. Today, we're diving into part 2 of our unique crossover series, Naruko x Sword of Mana. Get ready for another round of epic storytelling, world-blending action, and fan-fueled imagination. Disclaimer, this content is purely for entertainment and discussion. I do not own any of the anime footage featured. All rights go to their respective creators and copyright holders. Now, let's jump right into it. Naruko awoke early that morning, as usual, and made her way outside to warm up for the day. With Yuko guiding her thoughts, the girl moved gracefully through several kata from Kido no Yasei. Though kata weren't the centerpiece of the style, Naruko understood the importance of keeping her body agile and ready. During her routine, she chuckled softly, flipping the black Tsukahitsume around her freshly bandaged right hand before carefully sheathing it. Alright everyone, you'll have to try a bit harder if you don't want to be noticed. Come on in, breakfast should be just about ready. She tossed a towel over her shoulder, the fabric settling over her light training shirt and lean frame, the result of long hours spent between the forge and ongoing ninja practice. As she made her way toward the door of her home, her group of friends emerged from the surrounding woods. Both Hinata and Ino wore faint blushes, which they tried to hide before following their friend inside. I wasn't expecting you all to show up so early. Trying to catch me still asleep? Naruko, still dressed in her loose-fitting training clothes, began placing the final parts of breakfast on the table. She had been working with shadow clones earlier that morning, so the meal was already prepared, and she was pleased she could remember everything her clone had done before it vanished. Kiba grinned, grabbing a helping of home-smoked breakfast strips. Nah, we know you train at all hours of the day. How else could you master that unusual style of yours? Ow! He rubbed his head after Ino lightly tapped him, shaking her own in mock disapproval. Anyway, Shika figured it out and told us, the other blonde added matter-of-factly. Naruko laughed, giving their laid-back friend a friendly pat on the back. That's Shikamaru for you. Give him a few clues and he can figure out just about anything. I bet he's already guessed one or two of my secrets and is just waiting for the perfect time to bring them up, hopefully after I do. She took a long drink of her favorite forest fruit juice and then placed the cup down with a smile. Alright. Assignment time is coming up. I'm heading upstairs to change, don't go turning my place upside down while I'm gone. Stretching her arms, she went up to change into her usual outfit. Meanwhile, her friend stayed downstairs, and Shikamaru found himself at the center of attention as the others asked what he might have discovered about Naruko's training. The only one who stayed quiet was Hinata, nervously fidgeting with her fingers as she tried to resist using her Byakugan to peek upstairs. Ma, Shikamaru said with a sigh, I haven't figured out everything yet. I've got a few ideas about those bandages, but that's as far as I've gotten. You all know how she keeps things to herself. Hinata respects her privacy too much to look, and we probably won't find out until she decides to share. She really is a mystery sometimes. So troublesome. They knew that once Shikamaru called something troublesome, the conversation was done. Kiba and Choji returned to the food while Shikamaru leaned back and closed his eyes. Off to the side, Hinata and Ino giggled about something quietly. Naruko returned just in time to stop Choji from raiding her smokehouse for more snacks. The group soon made their way through the thick forest paths toward the gates of Konoha, slipping past the guards without issue. As they passed through, they heard the usual murmurs from some villagers, unkind and misinformed comments like tainted by the demon. It wasn't new to them, though it still left a quiet tension in the air. For Shikamaru, one of those comments sparked a thought. Sometimes I really wonder if the people in this village mix up right and wrong. They treat Sasuke like a hero, even when he's cold to everyone, and yet they say things about Naruko that make no sense. Demon? No, that can't be. But still. Maybe it's worth looking into. Might explain a few things. The blonde waved her hand in front of Shikamaru's face, trying to snap him out of his deep thoughts. Hello? Hey. Shikamaru, back to reality, we're here. He blinked and stood straighter as they entered the classroom, taking their usual seats. Iruka entered moments later, closing the door and holding a thick stack of folders. Welcome, everyone, and congratulations on making it to your team assignments. You'll be working in 3-person squads under a Jounin sensei. Let's get started. Squad 1 is. Every student focused intently, hoping for a favorable team. Naruko and her friends were especially eager to avoid being placed with a certain Uchiha. Finally, Iruka read out. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Shikamaru Nara. Your instructor will be Kakashi Hatake. Sakura cheered in delight, clearly thrilled to be on Sasuke's team. Sasuke, meanwhile, looked less than thrilled and glanced sharply toward Naruko, frustrated that he wouldn't be able to observe her progress up close. Shikamaru muttered a quiet troublesome, as Naruko patted him on the back with a smile of relief. Ah, tough draw, my friend. Odds were high one of us would be matched with her, though. Still, you don't need a reminder, teamwork is what really counts. Whether or not those two decide to go their own way, you've got to help them understand how important it is to work as a team. Satisfied that the classroom had quieted down, Iruka continued. Team 8 is Naruko Uzumaki, Hinata Hyuga, and Ino Yamanaka. Their Jounin sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. Both Hinata and Ino cheered, and Naruko smiled brightly. Alright, this is a great team. I'm the powerhouse, Hinata will be an incredible tracker, and Ino's got brains for strategy. Maybe not quite at Shikamaru's level, but definitely impressive. I object. Sensei, why does she get to be on a team with the two best kunoichi in the class? Sasuke stood abruptly, his hand slamming onto the desk as he pointed accusingly at Naruko. Iruka met his outburst with a calm, almost fatherly expression. Because the Hokage himself made these teams, that's why. That loser, as you rudely called her, actually had the best overall performance in class and was named Rookie of the Year. The team was formed to balance each member's strengths and help each other grow. Just like your own. Sasuke sat down with a frustrated sigh while Iruka continued. Team 9 is Shino Aburame, Kiba Inuzuka, and Choji Akimichi. Jounin sensei will be Kurenai Yuhi. Each student nodded quietly. Despite Shino being a bit reserved, neither Kiba nor Choji had an issue with him. Your Jounin sensei will meet you shortly. You'll probably get lunch together, talk a bit, and start to get to know one another. The teams are final. The council has no say in changing the Hokage's decisions. Iruka cast another meaningful look toward Sasuke, who said nothing more. Before long, Asuma and Kurenai entered the classroom. As the students started to leave with their new teams, Naruko gave Shikamaru a thumbs up and whispered something about meeting at her place later. Asuma decided to treat his new team to barbecue. Once seated and with some food cooking in front of them, he began. I can already tell you three get along well. Still, I've been away from the village for a while, so let's do things properly. I'm Asuma Sarutobi, son of the third Hokage. I enjoy training, board games, and strategy. I plan to settle down someday and start a family. He then gestured toward Naruko. Your turn. Naruko smiled. Naruko Uzumaki. I like ramen, gardening, training, and working at the Kiryu Forge. I value effort, honesty, and fairness. One day, I'll become the greatest ninja and help bring peace to all the villages. She's really grown, Asuma thought. That spark never faded. Hinata followed, Hinata Hyuga, daughter of Hyashi Hyuga. I like my friends, flower pressing, and training with my family. I dislike unnecessary secrecy and the outdated traditions of my clan. One day, I'll lead the Hyuga with unity and kindness. Asuma nodded approvingly. Naruko, meanwhile, was tossing grilled strips of meat into the air and catching them in her mouth, causing Hinata to giggle. Ino went next, Ino Yamanaka, daughter of Inoiki Yamanaka. I love flowers, fashion, reading, and developing our clan's techniques. I dislike when people disrespect nature or hide important things from their friends. Someday, I'll open my own flower shop and have a peaceful life. They're a well-rounded group, Asuma thought, watching them. Naruko's already a skilled fighter, but Hinata and Ino could use a bit more practice in certain areas. Hey, Naruko. You work with Shinrei at the forge, right? Naruko nodded, patting the hilt of her blade proudly. I was thinking about helping the others with weapons. Hinata might benefit from something that complements her close-range style. Ino could use something with longer reach. Any ideas? Naruko studied her teammates. Give me the knight. I'll make something special for them. Both girls blushed, flattered by the thought. They had seen the beauty of Naruko's craftsmanship. Asuma handed her his trench knives. Can you sharpen these too? Naruko examined them. Chakra steel. Balanced, perfect for throwing or close combat. This is from the Kiryu Forge too. Shouldn't be a problem. That night, Naruko worked late into the night at the forge. For Hinata, she crafted a pair of tonfa using chakra conductive wood grown for elemental training. Each tonfa was carved with a dragon, one golden, the other silver, and accented with polished bone. Ino's weapon was a beautifully detailed spear made from enhanced platinum. The blade was etched to look like it emerged from a dragon's mouth, with red accents that shimmered. Along the shaft, wooden inlays and carvings gave it elegance and power. On both weapons, she engraved, "May the will of fire burn eternal." She wrapped them carefully in green velvet and headed home. At her place, her friends were already asleep, having brought their own bedding. Naruko smiled at the peaceful scene and quietly went upstairs. She placed the new weapons beside her own and fell asleep. The next morning, her friends let her rest until breakfast was ready. Hinata and Ino headed upstairs to wake her, sneaking curious peeks at the bundles near her bed. "Those are what you made last night, right?" Ino asked once Naruko had come downstairs. "Yup," she replied, smiling. "You'll get to see them once we start the mission." After breakfast, they headed to Training Ground 9, arriving early. Naruko turned to Hinata and unwrapped the tonfa. "These are for you, Tengo Kuryuu and Jigo Kuryuu. Two forces that support the world." Hinata admired the craftsmanship and carefully tucked them into her belt. Next, Naruko handed the long spear to Ino. "This is Kokorodoga, the Mind Thorn. I think it'll suit your clan's techniques perfectly." Ino was speechless, the weight and design of the weapon feeling just right in her hands. Like Hinata, she strapped it to her back. Asuma arrived soon after, impressed. "You made these in one night? Amazing. What about my knives?" Naruko handed him the sharpened blades, now gleaming and re-stamped with the forge's emblem. "Well done. Now, your mission today is a bit unusual. There's a senior team, Team Guy, who have created a genjutsu that causes vivid illusions, sunsets and crashing waves. It's oddly effective. Our task is to experience it, study it, and find a way to counter it for the benefit of all Konoha ninja." With a single nod of agreement from the team, they disappeared into the trees, their teamwork already beginning to show. In the center of the training ground stood two individuals clad in tight green spandex with bright orange leg warmers, identical bowl haircuts, and notably thick eyebrows. They exchanged fast-paced hand-to-hand strikes while shouting excitedly about the spirit of youth. Off to one side, a long-haired, composed Hyuga was practicing precise Juuken movements solo. Nearby, a figure whom Naruko easily recognized as Tenten was skillfully launching throwing tools into worn and battered training dummies. Asuma gave Naruko a nod to approach the younger of the two in the center, while he moved toward the older one. Hinata and Ino were directed to stay ready to engage the others if they stepped in. After quiet, affirmative nods from all three, both Naruko and Asuma sprang into action, halting their respective targets mid-attack. Hinata and Ino crouched at the ready, prepared to intercept if needed. Lee blinked in surprise at the girl who had effortlessly blocked a kick intended for his teacher with just a single bandaged arm. Recognition soon dawned. "You are Naruko, the rookie of the year from your class, aren't you? Why are you here?" he asked, landing gracefully on his feet. "Nothing personal, bushy brows," Naruko replied with a friendly grin. "This is part of our Jinan test. I need you to tell me how to break that intense genjutsu you and your sensei created." She shifted her stance, pushing the hilt of Tsukihitsune behind her back and falling into her unarmed Kido no Yasei pose, fingers splayed like claws and knees bent low. "No weapons, just a good old taijutsu sparring match. That's your style, right?" Lee smiled brightly, stepping into his own taijutsu stance. "So the stories about you are true, Naruko. You respect a fair match. I hoped I'd get the chance to test my strength against you someday, and here you are." Without any need for a cue, the two launched toward each other, each knowing the other wouldn't make the first move. Lee struck first with a powerful right hook. The speed caught Naruko off guard. She quickly channeled a touch of chakra into her hands, grabbing the ground for balance as the punch connected with her shoulder. The maneuver helped her remain upright and also gave her a better understanding of Lee's speed and strength. Adapting quickly, Naruko used the force of the strike to roll to her feet, switching into her Kazinagare stance. Lee followed through with a falling motion, flipping midair to attempt a heel drop. Naruko sidestepped smoothly. The ensuing sequence of moves set the tone for their duel. Lee followed up with a spinning kick, which Naruko intercepted. She grabbed his foot and shifted his balance with a calculated roll, flipping him midair. But Lee, ever agile, caught himself and used his leg strength to send Naruko into the air. Back and forth they went, neither gaining a clear advantage but each enjoying the challenge. Nearby, Asuma and Guy were engaged in an equally matched contest. Guy wielded his nunchaku with fluid grace, while Asuma had his signature chakra blades attached to his fists. The two shared smiles and laughter, exchanging ideas about strategy even as they tested each other's skills. At that moment, Neji and Tenten sprang into action to assist their teammates, only to be intercepted by Hinata and Ino. Ah, Hinata-sama. So this is your squad's Jinan mission? I take it your sensei is trying to understand how to counter those illusions, Neji observed as he dropped into his stance. Hinata mirrored his movement, expression calm but resolute. Sorry, Neji-ni-san. We've been tasked with preventing interference. I can't let you pass. Tenten, meanwhile, had noticed the weapons Ino and Hinata carried, her eyes drifting to Naruko in the midst of her sparring. Ah! I should have guessed it was Naruko's team. Only she and my father could forge weapons that refined and beautiful. I'm impressed. Naruko-chan, may I have a look at that spear sometime? Ino clutched the staff with both hands and stepped forward cautiously. I'm afraid not right now. It's new, and I tend to get protective about these things. Tenten gave a playful grin. Aw, I just wanted to admire the craftsmanship. The only things Naruko's made for me are these. She pulled out 2 elegant silver knives from behind her back and held them in a reverse grip. She has a habit of using top-quality materials when she crafts. Soon, the four were engaged in their own sparring session, carefully watching and supporting each other in pairs. Despite being more experienced, Neji and Tenten found themselves evenly matched by the well-coordinated teamwork of Hinata and Ino. At the heart of the clearing, Lee and Naruko stood, catching their breath. Once more they faced each other, alert for the smallest opening. You're strong, Lee. Naruko called. I haven't had this much fun training in ages. Most of my opponents get reckless. Not you. Lee returned the compliment with a proud thumbs up. I'm equally impressed, Naruko. I once believed your reputation came from inherited skill or shortcuts. But now I see, you've earned your strength through dedication. Let's be friendly rivals in our journey. Naruko nodded with a smile. I don't know about youth, but in hand-to-hand combat, we're destined to keep challenging each other. The two dropped their stances and shook hands firmly, a sign of mutual respect. They had caught parts of the conversation between Asuma and Guy during their match, which had given Naruko clues about her test. Lee, now understanding what the visit was for, nodded thoughtfully. As a sign of goodwill, Naruko, I'll share what you need to know, he said. Though I don't use jutsu, I still have chakra. Guy-sensei found a way to connect to my chakra to cast the genjutsu. Most people assume Guy is the only one involved. But to break the technique, the connection between our chakra must be severed. How you do that, I leave up to you. Naruko smiled and let out a sharp whistle, an agreed-upon signal to her team. Instantly, Ino, Hinata, and Asuma disengaged and vanished into the trees, leaving Neji and Tenten blinking in surprise. Tenten glanced at Neji, puzzled. Any idea what that was all about? Neji shook his head as he watched Lee enthusiastically talking with Guy. No idea. But whatever that team was doing, they completed it. We'll be seeing more of them, I think. Later, Team 8 regrouped at their training ground. Asuma let them rest for a moment before addressing them. Although a bit tired himself, he stood straight with pride. Naruko stood tall and reported clearly. Mission accomplished. After a friendly spar with Rock Lee, student of Guy-sensei, we learned that the key to dispelling the sunset genjutsu is disrupting the chakra connection between Lee and Guy. Suggested methods include separating them or otherwise cutting off the energy link. Asuma gave a slow nod. So Guy's been holding on to a trick like that. I always figured he had some unique ideas up his sleeve. Hinata, Ino, you both did an excellent job holding back Neji and Tenten. Great teamwork all around. Let's call it a day. We'll meet back here at 0900 sharp tomorrow to continue. The three students nodded and began heading home, satisfied and exhausted from a job well done. As Naruko strolled through the quiet forest path toward her home, she entered her mindscape. There, in the familiar serene meadow, sat Yuko, the fox spirit, waiting with a gentle smile. Well done today, Naruko. You stood your ground beautifully against someone with more experience, Yuko said kindly. Naruko gave a small laugh, part of her mind still guiding her physical body. But you noticed, right? Lee was still holding back. He had those heavy ankle weights on the whole time. I've got a lot more training to do if I want to be a real match for him. Yuko nodded. A true rival is one who makes you stronger. You're on the right path. Ino opened the door to her home, greeted by an excited Reina and Inoiki. Hey, there's our little star. We haven't seen you in a couple of days. Come on, tell us everything, who's on your team? And what's with the spear? Inoiki added, his gaze falling on the weapon propped casually against the wall. Well, it's not the Ino Shikacho team like everyone expected, Ino replied as she kicked off her shoes and sank into the couch with a relieved sigh. Turns out Naruko had the highest scores in our class, so she was teamed up with Hinata and me. We finally figured out where she lives, too. We were at her place so late last night, waiting for her to finish up something at the forge, that we all just stayed over. Our team technically passed the second exam before it started, but Asuma-sensei had us go through it anyway. While doing that, we figured out how to deal with this unusual technique two guys had created. And as for Kokorotage here, she patted the spear, that's what Naruko was crafting at the forge all night. She made weapons for Hinata and me. You did what? She did what? Wait, what? Inoiki blinked, overwhelmed. He had been keeping an eye on Naruko's progress with interest, but this much development in such a short time was more than he anticipated. The team configuration was one thing, discovering Naruko's residence was another. Until now, only the Hokage had that information. But his daughter staying over at someone else's house, especially unsupervised, took him by surprise. And the fact that Naruko could forge such intricate weapons overnight? That realization hit hard. Then it dawned on him, she must have used shadow clones. Reina gently guided him to the couch as he worked through all the surprises, then headed into the kitchen to prepare some calming tea. Inoiki definitely needed it, and Ino wouldn't say no to something soothing either. Meanwhile, Hinata was enjoying dinner with her father Hiashi, her younger sister Hanabi, and their cousin Neji. Everyone had already shared how their day had gone. It seems you've been well placed, my daughter, Hiashi commented with approval. But I am curious about those tonfa of yours. I have a feeling they're more than they appear. Hinata set her chopsticks aside, carefully removing the lightweight but durable wooden tonfa from her belt and handing them to her father. Naruko made them herself. It was Asuma-sensei's idea. He thought Juuken could benefit from an increased range, and these might help with that. I haven't had the chance to try them in real combat yet. Hiashi, who had often reflected on the limitations placed on evolving the Hyuga style, examined the weapons with interest. When Hinata demonstrated by channeling chakra through her palms, the tonfa created the same internal disruption effect as traditional Juuken strikes, only at an extended range. Impressed, Hiashi gave his full support for Hinata to continue developing her version of the technique. I'll speak with the council, he said firmly. You're paving the way for a new chapter in our clan's legacy. Months passed under Asuma-sensei's guidance. Hinata and Ino grew more proficient with their new weapons, and their teamwork flourished. They were soon invited to spar with Team Guy for a friendly rematch. Lee, as before, didn't remove his training weights, and Naruko narrowly managed a victory. Ino and Tenten fought to a draw, while Hinata's refined technique led her to tie with Neji. Both Asuma and Guy-sensei were pleased with their progress. It meant both teams were rising together. During that time, Team 8 took on several D-ranked missions. Though routine, they helped solidify their teamwork. Then, in the fourth month, their first high-priority mission arrived. Standing at attention before the Hokage, the team awaited their assignment. Team 8, the Hokage began, your progress has been exceptional. I'm assigning you to reinforce Team 7. What was originally a simple escort mission to the Land of Waves has become more complicated. Some experienced rogue ninja are now involved. Kakashi and Shikamaru requested assistance. Team 7 is currently holding position 10 kilometers east of the village gates. You'll take the lead upon arrival. The team didn't waste a second. After a respectful bow, they dashed off to prepare. Moments later, they regrouped at the village gates, each with a mission scroll at their hip. This is our first high-tier mission, Asuma told them. With enemy shinobi involved, this has been classified as A rank. Let's do this right. Naruko took point, leading with confident speed as the rest followed closely. After a few hours of travel, they caught sight of Team 7. The three young ninja waved excitedly. Oi, couldn't handle it on your own, huh, Shika? Ino teased, embracing her friend with a grin. Sasuke and Sakura looked unimpressed, their gazes flicking briefly toward Naruko, who ignored them for now and stepped forward to greet the client. Extending her hand, Naruko introduced herself, Naruko Uzumaki, Team 8. We'll be assisting from here. These are my teammates, Ino Yamanaka and Hinata Hyuga, and our mentor, Asuma Sarutobi. Kazuna shook her hand firmly. Glad to see they finally sent some capable help. Kakashi and the strategist are fine, but we also had someone a bit too proud, and another a bit too excitable. Name's Tazuna. Well then, Tazuna, let's make sure you get home safely. Kakashi, have your team cover the rear. Naruko and I will take the lead. Hinata, Ino, secure the flanks, Asuma instructed efficiently. Before moving, Naruko passed a small pouch to Shikamaru. Here's a set of those mini chakram I promised. Meant to get these to you earlier. Shikamaru tucked the bag away. Thanks. Things have been kind of hectic. The Uchiha's more complicated than expected, and Haruno hasn't quite found her footing. Sasuke, hearing only part of the exchange, frowned. Hey, Naruko. If you're handing out weapons, don't just share them with your friends. Naruko raised an eyebrow. Would you even know how to use them safely? I made these for people who know their tools. Shikamaru's already trained with them. Maybe ask him if he's willing to teach you. Turning back to Shikamaru, she added quietly, so, figured out your preferred weapon yet? If it's something I can forge, I'll handle it when we reach wave. He nodded. Yeah. Been training with a Nadachi lately. Feels like the right fit. Naruko smiled. That suits you. Much easier than Kiba's request, he wants wrist-mounted claws. They took their assigned positions and moved ahead, adjusting their pace to Tazuna's. The trip was uneventful until they entered a dense wooded area. Naruko heard something, soft rustling in the underbrush. She immediately threw a kunai into the foliage, causing everyone to pause. Naruko. That scared us, Sakura exclaimed. Naruko held up a finger, signaling silence as she crept forward. In the clearing, she found a snow-white rabbit, frozen still. That's odd. Rabbits in this region have darker coats by this time. This one must have been raised indoors. Possibly a substitution technique? She raised her voice, alert and calm. Everyone, stay sharp, we're not alone. A voice echoed from the forest. Clever. But you're still just a junior ninja. Let's see how you handle this. Naruko heard a faint sound, a rushing breeze, and dropped to the ground. Down, now. The entire group followed without hesitation. A massive blade whirled through the air, embedding into a tree where their heads had been moments before. Looking up, they saw a tall figure standing atop the weapon. Dressed in black and white camouflage, the man had his face partially wrapped in cloth and a scratched kiri headband slanted across his forehead. Kakashi stepped forward, eyes narrowing. This is serious. That's Zabuza Momochi. He's in the bingo book and is known for his skill in silent techniques. Naruko flashed a confident grin as she performed a quick series of hand signs from her place on the ground. Her teammates easily interpreted the signal, 4 against 1. Even if this ninja is experienced, he doesn't stand a chance, especially if we all join in. In response, they raised a single sign, after you. The blonde kunoichi stood, with Ino and Hinata rising beside her. Each of them drew their weapons. Demon of the Mist, huh? You've picked the wrong group to challenge. Don't make the mistake of underestimating us just because we're Jinan. Even if one of us can't match you alone, you're still outnumbered. Kakashi cast a questioning glance at a relaxed Asuma, who simply gestured toward Tazuna. She's got something planned. Let's give them a chance. We'll protect the client. If anything goes wrong, we'll step in. As they moved into position, Zabuza landed on the ground, retrieving his enormous sword from the tree with ease. At a subtle gesture from Naruko, Hinata and Ino silently vanished into the nearby forest, leaving Naruko and the older ninja facing off. Zabuza sneered. Nice sword, kid. Once I defeat you, I might just take it for myself. You can try, but you won't even come close, Naruko replied calmly. Tsukihitsume doesn't let just anyone wield her. She shifted into her Kazinagare stance, her blade aimed precisely at Zabuza's center. And she has no qualms about who she bites, so watch your step. Interesting stance. Not one I've seen before, Zabuza mused. It won't make a difference though. He raised his weapon with practiced ease and swung downward with a powerful strike. Naruko pivoted just in time, using the flat of her own blade to deflect the attack, then translated the motion into a swift kick aimed at Zabuza's middle. The larger ninja leapt back, evading the blow, but now watching Naruko with greater caution. So that's how you fight, huh? You're more skilled than I gave you credit for. But this isn't enough. Hidden behind her scarf, Naruko's smile deepened. She had Zabuza's full attention now. It was time. Try this one then. Keep up if you can. Naruko flipped her sword into a reverse grip, crouched low, and sprang forward. Zabuza raised his weapon to guard, but Naruko changed tactics mid-air. She grabbed the back of his sword, flipped over him, and aimed a sharp heel strike toward the back of his head. Once she landed, she spun around, switching her sword back into a standard grip and thrust forward with precision. Zabuza managed to evade again, rolling aside. Just then, Naruko gave a sharp whistle, and what looked like a gleaming spear sprouted from the ground near Zabuza. Ino followed right behind, wrenching the weapon free and swinging it toward him with agility. He narrowly dodged. Naruko sprang forward, using the shaft of Ino's spear as a springboard to leap into the air. Another whistle signaled Hinata, who mirrored Naruko's movement, positioning herself perfectly behind her teammate like a shadow. Zabuza, focused on Naruko's aerial maneuver, didn't see Hinata's approach. Expecting another strike, he was instead surprised when Naruko grappled his shoulder and used her momentum to pull herself behind him. Using both arms and her sword, she caught him in a tight hold, not meant to last, just long enough. Hinata spun in the air, her chakra-infused tonfa glowing as she descended. With a final flip to gather force, she brought them down precisely on two key chakra points near Zabuza's shoulders, disrupting his control. Kakashi observed the scene with admiration. This was the coordination he'd been hoping to cultivate. Individually, they might struggle against such an opponent, but together, they functioned as a seamless unit. Sasuke, Sakura, pay attention. This is what teamwork really looks like. He didn't need to say anything to Shikamaru, he had been emphasizing this lesson since the start. Back in the fight, Zabuza's strength and speed had been noticeably reduced by the chakra block. But even with this handicap, his experience allowed him to keep the Genin at bay, slowly wearing down their stamina. Eventually, Hinata and Ino were forced to retreat, concerned they might become vulnerable. Naruko breathed heavily, even with her partner's spirit Yuko boosting her endurance. She knew she couldn't keep this up for long. When Zabuza finally broke free of the chakra disruption, he lunged once more, forcing Kakashi and Asuma to intervene. Together, they blocked his massive sword. Naruko, you did well. Step back and let us handle it from here, Asuma instructed, pushing the blade aside with Kakashi. Naruko retreated to join the others, leaning slightly on Shikamaru. Sorry, Shika. I couldn't quite get him where we needed. No problem, he replied with a shrug. Letting the teachers handle it is way less of a hassle. He's a seasoned A-rank ninja after all. Sasuke stood conflicted, watching as Kakashi revealed his Sharingan. He couldn't understand how Naruko had grown so strong. While he wrestled with these thoughts, he failed to notice the mist beginning to thicken until Naruko's voice rang out. Protect Tazuna. That's a concealment technique. The six Genin formed a defensive circle around the bridge builder, weapons ready. A chilling voice echoed around them. Neck, shoulders, joints. Which one should I strike? Ino reacted first. She slashed out with her spear and struck, only to find her target dissolve into water. A clone. Stay alert, there might be more. She warned, returning her weapon to a ready position. Moments later, another clone lunged toward Sakura. She froze, but Kakashi appeared instantly, intercepting the attack. After neutralizing the threat, he gave her a reassuring nod. Don't worry, Sakura. None of you are alone. I'll keep you safe. That's what being a team means. With a sudden surge of chakra, Kakashi's presence dispelled the mist. You'll have to do better than that, Zabuza. What followed was a high-level duel between the two seasoned ninja. Kakashi matched Zabuza blow for blow, using his Sharingan to analyze and mirror his opponent's techniques. But unexpectedly, Kakashi found himself caught, pulled beneath the lake's surface by another clone and trapped within a powerful water-based jutsu. Asuma held back at first, not usually one to engage in two-on-one combat against an opponent of comparable skill, but when Kakashi was momentarily restrained, he turned to Naruko with a small smile. This is something I was planning to teach you soon, Naruko. For now, just watch and see if you can grasp the concept. He held his trench knives upright, channeling wind chakra through the blades. A visible extension of pure white wind energy formed, extending their length. Zabuza had underestimated Asuma, not accounting for his speed and elemental mastery. In a flash, Asuma dispatched Zabuza's clones and forced him to release Kakashi in order to protect himself. From that moment, Asuma and Kakashi worked in unison. While Kakashi tracked Zabuza's every move, Asuma pressured him constantly, preventing him from gaining any advantage. Naruko watched the coordinated effort, her eyes filled with inspiration. Seeing Asuma channel his chakra nature awakened something deep within her, something Jin had long been waiting for. Now, Naruko. It's time for you to begin understanding my power. I'll guide you through it this time. Jin's voice brought Naruko back into focus as the cloth concealing the gauntlet unraveled. The gem embedded in it gleamed brightly. Tsukihitsume, still in Naruko's hand, began to radiate with a luminous turquoise light as Jin's energy flowed through the blade. Unbeknownst to her, but seen clearly by the others, two brilliant white markings formed above her brows, curving down toward the corners of her eyes. Kakashi and Asuma, sensing the powerful energy now surrounding Naruko, momentarily paused to glance her way. As she charged past them, her eyes fixed on Zabuza, they briefly glimpsed what looked like a single ethereal wing emerging from her left shoulder, only for it to vanish in the blink of an eye. The onlookers stood in awe as Naruko engaged Zabuza with impressive skill and precision. Every attack she faced was skillfully redirected or countered. It was as though someone else had taken the lead within her. The skirmish came to an unexpected halt when Naruko managed to corner Zabuza against a tree, only for 3 small projectiles to strike him from afar, causing him to fall into an unconscious state. Naruko looked toward the direction they came from and spotted a masked figure dressed in Kiri attire, perched in a nearby tree. The figure jumped down to assess Zabuza and spoke in a calm tone. "Well now, I must thank you, young one. You've made my task much easier. I'll be taking him now for treatment." Before anyone could respond, the masked individual made a series of hand signs, supported Zabuza's limp form, and disappeared from sight. With the immediate danger gone, Naruko's power faded, and Tsukihitsume returned to its usual soft white glow. "He's not gone, you know. That person just hit a point to make him appear unconscious. Strange technique." She sheathed her blade and turned toward her team, the silver gauntlet now visible. "Looks like I'll need to explain all this soon. Just let me rest for a bit." Her eyes closed, and she gently collapsed to the ground. Hinata, Ino, and Shikamaru were by her side in moments, with Hinata activating her Byakugan to assess her condition. "I didn't think it could affect Naruko this way, but she's experiencing chakra exhaustion," Hinata said softly to Asuma. "Sensei, she'll need to be carried back. I don't think she'll regain consciousness until later tonight." Asuma nodded, ready to carry her. "As long as we don't run into another encounter like this, we'll get back just fine." Sasuke's expression briefly brightened. Naruko's overwhelming strength had drained her completely, but more importantly to him, he believed he had uncovered the secret behind her sudden surge of power. "Once we return, I'll speak to the council. I'll make sure she hands over that sword." Kakashi noticed the calculating gleam in Sasuke's eyes and shook his head, choosing not to say anything. He still has much to learn. As Asuma predicted, they reached Tazuna's village without any further issues. Naruko was given a guest room to rest in peace, while Kakashi and Asuma faced a flood of questions downstairs. "Yes," Asuma said patiently, "we've known about Naruko's arm for some time. I was there when it happened. It's not a curse or a bloodline limit, but the details are for her to share when she's ready." He then looked at Hinata and Ino. "You two will help the others with training. It seems Kakashi hasn't had a chance to start chakra control exercises, thanks to a few teamwork issues." Everyone glanced at Sasuke and Sakura, who looked confused at the sudden attention. "Hey, I'll say. That laid-back guy is the only one on that team who seems to get it," a voice chimed in from the top of the stairs. Everyone turned to see Naruko standing there, steadying herself as she descended. "Naruko, are you sure you should be walking already?" Kakashi asked, surprised to see her up. "It'll take more than a bit of chakra drain to stop me," she said lightly. "I just need a good meal, and I can ease back into training to rebuild my reserves." She took a seat, and Tsunami kindly set a bowl of rice before her. "Thank you, ma'am," Naruko said with a respectful nod, quietly eating while glancing at her now unbound arm in thought. Inari, still upset, suddenly burst out. How can you act like nothing happened? How can you just smile and keep going? You don't know anything about what it means to suffer." Kakashi and Asuma turned toward Naruko, curious to see how she would respond. She simply set her chopsticks down, her gaze calm. "You think I don't understand suffering?" she asked gently. "Almost everyone in this world has faced their own hardships. I don't know your story, Inari, but let me share one of my own. It's a tale engraved in my heart, one I've come to learn deeply. It's the story of how this world began. Many know fragments of it, but I've seen the full picture. Through the eyes of someone who was at the center of it all. You could say this is also where my story begins." The room fell silent. Even Sasuke leaned in, eager for any hint that might unlock the mystery behind her strength. Long ago, before the world was shaped as we know it, there was an island at the heart of everything. It was called Illusia, and people believed it to be sacred because of a legendary tree that stood there, an ancient tree that had turned to stone over time. This tree was protected by a white feathered dragon and a kind people known as the treefolk. One day, a woman from the treefolk found a baby washed ashore. She took the child in and named him Keldrick. He grew up to be a protector of their people. This is his story, a tale of courage, friendship, and a bond with nature. A story of a maiden who became a goddess, a sacred sword, and spirits that watched over the world. Buju! Buju, come here. Keldi, could you help me find Buju? He's gone off again, called a graceful young woman named Richa, her flowing dress adorned with floral patterns, matching her long brown hair. Of course, Richa. I'll bring him back in no time, answered Keldric, a spirited young boy dressed in the traditional outfit of the treefolk warriors. He dashed toward the forest, grabbing a sturdy branch to use as a makeshift sword. Please don't scare him, Richa called after him. In their time, there were many unique creatures, some ancient, some adapted to the changing world. Keldric, though young, was resourceful, and he navigated the woods with care, eventually coaxing back Buju, a small, hopping creature with a wide mouth and no legs. As they returned to the village, the peace was shattered. The king of Lorimar, Stroud, had unexpectedly arrived with an army of enchanted constructs. Fearing for their homeland, Richa and Keldric made the brave decision to descend beneath the great tree, seeking the aid of the guardian spirit said to rest deep below. The roots stretched far, and the journey was long. They spoke softly to each other to stay calm, eventually discovering a sacred stone slab etched with the image of the tree. Do you think the guardian rests even deeper? Keldric wondered aloud. A glimmer of light drew his attention to a small seed, dangling from a vine. Curious, he gently plucked it. Before Richa could warn him, the seed lit up. Quick, drop it, Keldi, she cried. But it was too late. The seed sprouted in his palm, vines wrapping around his arm. Though startled, Keldric discovered he could control the vines, shaping them into a sword, whip, or even a bow. They pressed forward and found a clearing filled with luminous flowers. 8 colorful orbs swirled above them, forming into a cheerful spirit child named Faye, who agreed to help them on their quest. At the bottom of the path, instead of a peaceful guardian, they encountered a large, aggressive creature resembling a giant crab. With Faye's support, Keldric carefully subdued the creature. As it faded, it warned them not to disturb the great tree. But Richa was drawn toward a still living root by a mysterious voice only she could hear. When she touched it, light enveloped the tree above, signaling her presence. Before long, Stroud's army arrived and captured Richa, Keldric, the village elder, and a loyal guard named Lechius. They were brought to a ceremonial dais under the great tree. Now that you're all here, tell me how to open the gate to Mavolia, Stroud demanded. Mavolia? But Illusia is sacred, Lechius exclaimed, only to be silenced by a golem. This island is the gateway. Now speak. The land beyond is corrupted. If you open it, darkness could spread, warned the elder. But Stroud only laughed. Keldric, determined to protect Richa, drew his vine-forged sword and stood against Stroud. Stroud easily deflected him. Very well. Let's begin with the girl of the tree. Stop. The key is hidden in Wonderwood, the elder said. Stroud ordered the group taken away. As they were led back, Stroud observed Keldric. There's something about that child, he mused to his masked advisor. It's the tree's influence, the advisor replied. Back at the village, Keldric and Lechius managed to escape. They knew they had to rescue Richa before she reached the key. Stay here and protect the village, Lechius. I'll go after her. With Faye by his side, Keldric raced through the forests, facing magical beasts and mechanical soldiers. Deep in Wonderwood, he found Richa with Trent, the guardian of the woods. But the key Trent protected began to react to Richa, corrupting him into a twisted version of himself. Keldric urged Richa to flee as he fought Trent. Using fire and strategy, he shattered the crystal core inside Trent's form. Dark mist released, and a mysterious black sword appeared. Trent, returning to himself, softly said, "Go to Mortmont. Find the Earth's protector." And faded away. A masked figure arrived on a dragon and picked up the dark sword. "This is the sacred sword of Mana," he said. "I'll need your help now." Richa stepped in front of Keldric. "Run," she begged. "Please. For the world." Though reluctant, Keldric obeyed, fleeing toward the mountain. He crossed many lands, powered by Faye's magic and fragments left by the spirits. At Mortmont's peak, he met Gaia, a stone sentinel. There, he defeated the dragon with Gaia's help. Gaia, too, faded, but not before releasing Flammy, a guardian beast. With Flammy, Keldric and a new ally, King Watts, drove the enemy from the village. But Richa had been taken to Stroud's airship. Keldric rushed to the coast and boarded the vessel, where he found Richa in a dazed state, speaking in riddles. As they tried to escape, Stroud confronted them, wielding the dark sword. Though overpowered at first, Keldric's courage lit up his blade, and a dragon-shaped mark appeared under his eye. He charged, but Stroud used the ship's cannons to blast him away. Faye shielded him partially, but the impact sent him into the sea. Richa, now fully aware, cried out in sorrow. As Keldric drifted ashore, Elusia fell into chaos. The door to Mavolia had been opened, and the corrupted energy of Thanatos spread. Villagers were transformed by its dark power. Faye changed into a more mature form, and Watts found Keldric. Together, they traveled the world, gathering allies whose hearts resisted corruption. Their journey led them to the kingdom of Jad, where Keldric breached the final fortress. Inside, strange magical orbs summoned beasts, but he and Faye persevered, freeing a hidden city within the walls. At the tower's peak, Keldric met Lechius, now overtaken by the dark force. "Keldi, come with me. Richa is waiting. Give in, and we'll be together again," Lechius said. Keldric shook his head. "I can't. I have to help her." A difficult battle followed, and in the end, Keldric freed Lechius from the corruption. In his final moments, Lechius whispered, "Go to Elusia. Help her." With Watts, Keldric returned to the island. A tower would temporarily weaken the darkness, allowing an attack. Keldric activated it, but the masked man returned. "You're strong," he said. "But the road ahead won't be easy." "I'll walk it anyway," Keldric replied. They fought a powerful duel. In the end, the masked man revealed he was the first bearer of the Sword of Mana, and he had once sealed away a maiden and the sword when they were overtaken by the same dark power. Before disappearing, he revealed one final truth: Stroud was Keldric's brother. Of course, Keldric was surprised by the revelation, but he quietly kept it in mind for another time. There were more pressing matters at hand. Watts had arrived on the shores and had established a foothold, pushing forward to the quiet remnants of a once vibrant village, resting beneath the now darkened tree. The journey wasn't too difficult until Keldric neared the caves, where he encountered a powerful guardian made of stone. After a challenging encounter, Keldric emerged victorious, but the guardian caused the cave entrance to collapse. Unsure how to proceed, he was soon found by Flammy, who had been watching from a distance. With the help of the sacred creature, he reached the top of the great tree, where an imposing fortress awaited. This time, the challenge was far greater. Whether it was the toll of recent battles or the steep climb, Keldric had to dig deep to push forward. After navigating the towering fortress and winding tunnels within the tree, he finally arrived at a set of ancient gates. Guarding them was the strongest guardian he had faced yet. Though exhausted, Keldric managed to pass through and found Stroud seated on a grand throne, holding the dark sword. "So, you made it back after all these years. I suppose I should congratulate you, dear sibling," Stroud said with a mocking tone. Keldric, unfazed, glanced around the chamber. "Where is Richa?" he asked. In response, a swirl of dark mist appeared on a second throne, and from it rose Richa, though her presence had shifted. She now bore the likeness of the ancient maiden Anis. "I once cast you into the sea when I should have settled things properly. But no matter, I will now." Stroud stepped behind her and suddenly struck. Keldric rushed to catch her, but her form shimmered and faded from his arms. Fueled by unwavering determination, Keldric stood tall, his blade gleaming with purpose. He and Stroud clashed in a battle of skill and will. This time, their duel was evenly matched, though Keldric had clearly grown. When it seemed Stroud might fall, he unleashed a deeper power, changing into a towering shadowy figure. Even so, Keldric held firm, overcoming the darkness once again. Stroud returned to his usual form, weakened and on the ground. "You only ever wanted to save her, didn't you? But she's gone," Stroud whispered. "What now? Will you keep wandering, sword in hand, chasing a dream that's already out of reach? Build a new world of shadow with your blade, soaked in illusion?" With a burst of laughter and dark mist, Stroud faded away. From the mist emerged Anis, her presence unnerving. "His blade couldn't stop me, and even yours won't be enough," she said, floating above the chamber. Keldric reached toward her, his voice quiet. "Richa." She looked down at him with a cold gaze. "That name no longer matters. The world's transformation is just beginning. With the power of the spirits and the great tree, the echoes will finally be free." Determined, Keldric pressed onward through winding corridors that seemed to twist reality. He eventually arrived at a chamber with no visible floor, yet he could stand. There, Anis awaited him again. "You'll soon yield to me, just as your friend did," she declared. Keldric's eyes narrowed. "The world already suffers from confusion and despair. What more could you want?" Anis answered calmly, "The echoes remain trapped. Only with the seed from your hand and the spirit child's help can they truly awaken. The tree itself still resists. But with the seed and your surrender, its will can be turned. Then she turned away, her voice distant. Yes, I had the girl speak those words in the forest. But perhaps, deep down, she agreed. She realized that reviving the tree meant opening the path again. And to complete the awakening, the keeper of the seed must become one with the bearer of the echoes. Annis turned back, her expression intense. That's why Richa accepted this fate. Keldric, overwhelmed, whispered, no. But Annis continued, summoning her energy. The choice is yours. Help me free the echoes, or let them fade forever, along with Richa. Keldric readied his blade. You already know my answer. Annis transformed once more into a powerful, mythical form, commanding twin serpents joined at the tail. Keldric had to disable the creatures before he could even reach her. The battle was long and grueling, but through perseverance, he returned Annis to her original form. As he raised his blade for the final strike, memories of Richa filled his heart, and his resolve faltered. I can't. I tried. Tears welled in his eyes as he sank to his knees. A gentle voice spoke to him, Faze. Keldi. Let's go. He looked up at her, still trembling. But Faye. She shook her head gently. Richa wouldn't want this world to fall into shadow. She believed in your heart, in the beauty you could restore. You're not alone, Keldi. We're with you. As they spoke, Anna slowly gathered her strength again, but paused, seeing Keldric now surrounded in radiant light, his sword glowing brightly as Faye lent her strength. Richa. I didn't want it to come to this, he said softly, and with one heartfelt cry, charged and struck true. Suddenly, light filled the air, and Keldric and Richa floated within a serene white space. Their hands reached for each other, and upon contact, the seed embedded in Keldric's arm returned to its original form in Richa's hand. Richa, it's time, Faye whispered as she gently descended with Richa, the two merging with the seed and gently vanishing into the light. Outside, the great tree glowed with new life, casting away all shadows. The fortress crumbled peacefully, and gentle light radiated in every direction. The sacred seal shattered, and the tree, now wrapped in golden brilliance, revealed an ethereal guardian above it. She opened her arms as if to embrace the world. Spirits emerged from the light, and a magnificent sword appeared, filled with the essence of mana, descending gently and embedding itself in the earth. Keldric, worn and weary, stood at the edge of his village. A quiet, thoughtful smile crossed his face as he gazed at the great tree. Within its light, he saw the spirits of Faye and Richa. He walked slowly to the base of the tree, resting in the soft moss between its roots, finally finding peace. Naruko was doing her best to hold back tears, and she wasn't alone. Everyone around the table seemed deeply moved, except for Sasuke, who sat quietly, seemingly committing every word to memory. That life wasn't mine, but I've felt every moment of it, Naruko said softly. Inari, I don't think anyone can fully understand what Keldric went through. But I've walked a path shaped by that pain, and it's what helps me keep going. We move forward to protect what's precious to us. Never forget that. Shikamaru suddenly realized the purpose behind Naruko's story. Naruko. That thing on your arm, could it really be what I think it is? Naruko flexed her fingers and glanced at the silver gauntlet on her arm. Yeah. This is the sword of mana. It's been dormant for centuries. I didn't mean to hide it from all of you, but I didn't want to be treated differently. I wanted to earn your respect on my own merit. TCH. Figures. You had something like that helping you all this time? No wonder you always pulled ahead, Sasuke muttered. All eyes turned to him, most of them with disapproval, but Naruko simply let it go. You know, Sasuke, you might want to ask yourself something. Why do you think I never used this before now? Naruko flexed her fingers again. Because I couldn't. You saw what it did to me when I did use it. I was completely drained in seconds. This is something I'll only use when it's absolutely necessary. I may keep it sealed for now. Naruko, who had been quietly finishing her meal during the conversation, set her chopsticks down and stood. If anyone needs me, I'll be walking around the village. With that, she slowly made her way outside into the night. Kakashi cleared his throat and glanced at Asuma, who had composed himself. We've decided that during this break, Naruko will assist Tazuna at the bridge. Meanwhile, Sasuke and Sakura will train with Ino and Hinata. Shikamaru, you'll support Naruko. Outside, Naruko took a deep breath of the crisp night air. She had a mission now, a promise to fulfill for a friend. Still, finding the right material had proven difficult, until she spotted something near the edge of town. A discarded piece of obsidian glinted in the moonlight. Smiling, she pulled out a storage scroll and sealed it away. As she turned, she noticed a familiar figure watching her, Inari. "Hey, Naruko. I'm sorry for how I acted earlier. I was only thinking about myself," Inari said. Naruko lifted a hand gently to stop him. "It's okay. We all have moments like that. Hey, think you could give me a hand with something? I've got a request to finish, and I could use an assistant. You up for it?" Inari grinned and nodded, stepping forward to support her as they headed toward the village forge. Over the next few days, Naruko and Inari were hardly seen. Shikamaru was stationed at the bridge to guard Tazuna, while Ino and Hinata were left to coach Sakura and Sasuke in basic chakra control. Ino worked with Sakura, who caught on quickly, though not without plenty of one-sided chatter about how she was winning Sasuke's attention. Hinata had a harder time with Sasuke. He was reluctant to take advice and had a tendency to push boundaries. He even made several awkward suggestions that left Hinata uncomfortable. After 3 days, Naruko and Inari had completed their project. Inari's hands were wrapped in light bandages, and he handed a well-forged blade to Shikamaru. "Here you go. We finally finished it. Though Naruko made me do most of the work," he said with a teasing smile. Naruko laughed, ruffling his hair. "Don't let him trick you. He kept the fire going and ran the bellows. He was the one eager to learn, and now he's on his way." Shikamaru shook his head in amusement and carefully unsheathed the sword. His eyes widened. The blade was crafted from polished black obsidian flecked with dark crimson, and the base featured a silver design resembling stag antlers. The hilt and sheath were simple, sleek, and perfect for someone who moved in shadows. "Kagyo is a little more delicate than metal, Shikamaru," Naruko said, "but it cuts clean. Just avoid crossing swords with it directly, and you'll be fine." Shikamaru gave a grateful nod and knelt to thank Inari. Sasuke, arms crossed, scowled at Naruko. "Hey, why does he get something cool? Make me one, too. Just like the one you carry." Naruko sighed and looked over at him calmly. "Sasuke, you still don't get it, do you? Strength isn't something handed out. You don't get something just because you want it. What have you done to earn it? Because you're the last Uchiha? I'm the last of my clan too. Because you lost your family? I never even knew mine." She stepped closer, her voice firm but kind. "We're similar in many ways, but one difference is I put in the work, even when things are tough. You expect everything without lifting a hand to earn it. I craft these blades to protect the people I care about. I can't make one for someone who refuses to grow." Sakura opened her mouth to speak, anger flashing in her eyes, but Kakashi gently placed a hand on her shoulder. "Let it be. Maybe it's time Sasuke starts reflecting a little. You might want to do the same." Naruko gave a small wave and went upstairs to rest. As soon as she closed her eyes, she entered her inner mindscape. There, as always, Yuko knelt peacefully in the grass. Jin, however, was strangely silent. "Yuko, sorry I've been away. Things have been hectic outside. But I need answers. Back during the fight with Zabuza. What was that power?" Yuko exhaled deeply and closed her eyes. "I should tell you the truth. My energy isn't as refined as we once hoped. The sword may have changed me, but the power I wield is still dangerous to anyone but me. I used that energy to connect Jin's power to yours directly. It drained both of you. He encouraged me to do it." Naruko knelt before her, listening intently. "That's why I've been feeling off? How badly was I affected? Will I recover in time?" Yuko glanced away. I'm not sure. If I had known how serious the effects would be, I wouldn't have done it. Even when I lend you power, it puts a strain on your body. With Jin's added strength." Jin's light, almost playful voice echoed from all around, though he sounded more worn out than usual. "What Yuko is trying to say is, we pushed you way too far. Your energy channels were nearly overwhelmed. Yuko's been working constantly to restore you. You'll be able to fight again by tomorrow, but it will take weeks before you're fully recovered. That power will be yours someday, but only once Yuko's energy is completely purified. That may take years. The sword still needs time and support from the spirits to reach its full potential." Naruko stood, placing her hand gently on Yuko's shoulder, offering reassurance. "Don't worry about it. We'll move forward as we always do. Take it slow and steady." Just as she spoke, a sound from outside her mindscape caught her attention. It was a strange mix of water dripping slowly and a bell chime, clear and pure. Jin chuckled softly. "Well, it seems like perfect timing." Naruko opened her eyes, taking in her surroundings. It was still near midnight, and everyone was asleep except Kakashi, who had taken the responsibility of the night watch. Quietly, Naruko slipped out of the building and followed the sound for nearly an hour, eventually coming across a forgotten ruin at the center of a lake. Intrigued, she moved carefully across the water, mindful of her still healing body. She followed the feeling of being beckoned, eventually sitting in the center of a shallow pool. To her surprise, a portion of the water rose and took the shape of a small woman. Instead of legs, she had a long tail, resembling that of a fish. Her skin, hair, and eyes were all various shades of blue, and in her hand was a trident made of pink coral. Naruko's eyes widened in recognition. "You're Undine, the water spirit, aren't you?" The water spirit closed her eyes and bowed in respect. "Yes, Naruko. I am Undine. Welcome to the ruins of the Water Palace. As you may have guessed, I am appearing before you because you are ready. There will be no test from me. I watched you during your fight with Zabuza and saw what I needed to see. Now, I will join you. Perhaps my presence can assist in your healing." In a bright flash of blue light that forced Naruko to close her eyes, Undine entered the gauntlet, a deep blue gem forming in one of the empty slots to signify her presence. Inside Naruko's mindscape, a lake appeared near the center of the plain. Yuko watched the lake form with curiosity. She then heard Undine's voice. "Greetings, mighty Kyubi, and Jin. I know you were listening, so I will not repeat myself." Yuko moved closer to the lake, gazing into her reflection in the water. "I understand. Please, just call me Yuko. I left my title behind years ago, when Naruko first touched the sword." Undine took physical form over the lake, looking up at the sky. "Very well, Yuko. Let us work together. Jin, it's time for you to rise, we have work to do." The following day, Naruko returned to Tazuna's house, sneaking past Sakura, who had taken over guard duty after Kakashi, and quietly climbed back into bed. The morning arrived quickly. Before anyone else woke, Naruko created a shadow clone and sent it to assist Shikamaru while she worked on recovering. Alone, she focused on healing with Yuko's help. They wanted to keep her abilities secret for now, and the plan was agreed upon by the three voices in her mind. Naruko spent much of her time in deep meditation, guiding chakra through her strained system, allowing Undine and Kyubi to heal her. Afterward, she practiced basic kenjutsu with her blade, slowly working on drawing wind chakra into it under Jin's guidance. By the end of the day, Naruko had made some progress, but she recognized her limits and chose not to push further. Instead of returning to Tazuna's house, she opted to rest outdoors, as her clone was still active. The next morning was misty when a figure with long raven hair entered a small clearing, bending to collect various medicinal herbs. The figure came across a boy sleeping peacefully with a smile on his face. Upon recognizing him as the same one who had fought and injured her partner, Zabuza, the figure considered taking action. But then, she reconsidered. Instead, she gently shook the boy awake and greeted him with a kind smile. "Good morning," she said. Naruko opened her eyes and looked up at the girl. "Morning. I didn't expect any of the villagers to be out here this early." She sat up, stretching and easing the tension in her muscles, noticing the small basket the girl carried. Naruko quickly recognized the herbs the girl was gathering. "Those are potent ingredients. I know a bit about herbal remedies and poisons. Looks like you're gathering the final stages of a cure for temporary paralysis. Am I right, Hunter-san?" The girl seemed surprised. "How did you know it was me? The last time I saw you, I was wearing a mask." She instinctively reached for her kunai, but Naruko simply continued stretching. "It's not too difficult to figure out. Your voice, your scent, even the way you move, all of it is familiar. I'm not foolish, despite what some people may think. A ninja's greatest asset is attention to detail. When you notice the small things, you understand much more about the world." Naruko smiled. "I'm not here to attack you. There's a time and place for everything. You didn't harm me when you had the chance, and I won't harm you now. But if I may ask, what should I call you?" The girl relaxed, and Naruko knelt to gather a few more herbs for Zabuza's cure. "Haku," the girl answered. "You're not like most other shinobi, are you? Why are you helping me now, when I was about to harm you?" Naruko stood and added the herbs to her basket. "In truth? You and Zabuza don't seem so bad to me. A mentor once taught me to look beneath the surface. I'm sure Zabuza has his reasons for what he does, as do you. You seem to care about him deeply. From what I can gather, he might even be like a father to you. Most of all, I believe I'm recruiting. Konoha could use strong ninjas like you both. If our paths align, I'd like to call you comrades. Tell Zabuza this, Uzumaki Naruko, the blonde genin, will someday unite the warring nations. If things turn to open war, I'll need his help." Naruko's expression grew serious as she gazed toward the horizon. But if I've misjudged him and he chooses to continue the cycle of war, I will stop him the next time we meet. With that, Naruko waved goodbye, leaving Haku to ponder her words and continue gathering herbs. Soon enough, Haku made her way back to Zabuza's base. The entire time she worked on preparing the remedy, Naruko's words echoed through her mind. So, she understands my motivation. How can she read people so well after only a few minutes? Something must have happened to her in her life. I can feel it, something that opened her heart for everyone to see. Perhaps not the best thing for a ninja, but it seems to work for her. I wonder if we should take her offer. Zabuza-sama will know. He'll tell me what is right. She entered Zabuza's room in a daze to see the large man pointing his blade at the face of a small, greasy little man who seemed too foolish to be intimidated. One more shot, Zabuza. That's all I'm going to give you before I take matters back into my own hands. I know I have a lot of people who would love to cut loose in that tiny little village. The man turned around and made a quick retreat, shoving past Haku, who had been waiting in the doorway. Zabuza sighed and put his blade down before settling back into the couch he had been lounging on. Haku, what took you? I need to hurry up and get back on my feet. With a nod, Haku handed the remedy to Zabuza, who drank it quickly, pulling a wry face. Nasty. The best medicines always are, though. Zabuza-sama, I met with the blonde genin from earlier this morning. She recognized me somehow. However, she didn't even attempt to attack, even though I was barely armed. Instead, she left a message with me for you. She said she will one day unite the nations and that she wants our help when the time comes. She also said that if you intend to continue the wars, she will stop you. Haku looked down at her hands as if they were the most fascinating things in the room. Oh? So there's someone out there with a dream like that, huh? Haku, what do you want to do? We've been wandering for so long now. Even my original purpose has nearly faded, and we've become hired hands for people like that man, Gato. Zabuza glanced over at his reflection in his Zanbato. Kiri. Once I wanted to take it over by force, but I'm not so sure that was a good idea anymore. I vowed to get revenge on the damn Mizukage for shoving me into that test so long ago, but now he's gone, passed away from old age. Haku was surprised. She rarely ever heard Zabuza talk about his own past. Most of their conversations usually focused on two things, their missions, and her upbringing. She sounds sincere, but deception is a ninja's basic tool. I think we should continue the mission, but shift our purpose. We should test Naruko. If she passes our test, we join her. If not, Zabuza's gruff voice finished her sentence. We continue as we always have. Fine, 2 days from now, we mount our attack at the bridge. The events there will determine our fate. Dear YouTube family, this is all for now. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel for more amazing videos. Thanks for the love and support. With love. 6 Path Weeb.